There is a quiet promise in the Texas dirt, a promise paid for in sweat, blood, and generations of early mornings. For folks like J.D. Miller, these pastures are not just acres on a map, they are a family album written in the soil. Texas is built on this. 82% of our working lands are privately owned, held together by the word of men and women who swore to protect their legacy. But right now, under the cover of darkness, that legacy is under siege. This is not about nature. It is a calculated invasion. Over 2 million wild hogs are tearing through the Lone Star State, ripping up crops, poisoning our creeks, and leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. They are destroying the very ground our grandfathers fought to pass down. If you believe this land is worth fighting for, hit that subscribe button right now to join us in defending our roots. This is not about hatred for a beast. It is about the love for our home and our sacred duty to guard the gates for the ones coming next. To truly understand what we are up against, we have to look past the torn-up fences and look at the brutal math. This is where the story gets heavy, and it is where a lot of well-meaning folks get it wrong. We are not just dealing with some stray animals looking for a meal. We are dealing with a biological breeding machine that does not check its speedometer. Think about this for a second. A single young sow can get pregnant when she is just 3 or 4 months old. That is barely a juvenile, and she is already carrying the next generation of destroyers. They carry a short gestation period, dropped like clockwork, twice a year. Every single litter brings anywhere from 3 to 9 more mouths to feed, more hooves to trample, and more tusks to plow through your hard work. Biologists will tell you straight up that if we do not completely eliminate at least 66 to 70% of the total hog population every single year, their numbers do not even drop. They keep growing. The line on the chart just keeps climbing, bleeding the state of Texas dry. Where are you watching this video from? Please tell us your country or city in the comments and let's explore together. Now, a lot of good old boys think the answer is simple. You grab your favorite rifle on a crisp Saturday morning, call up a few buddies, and head out to the back pasture for a weekend hunt. It feels like you are doing something good when you drop 2 or 3 hogs near the tree line. You head home thinking you did your part to save the ranch. But the hard, cold truth is that weekend hunting is a tactical failure. It makes the problem worse. Wild hogs are not stupid. In fact, they are some of the smartest, most adaptable creatures walking the North American continent. When you roll up out there and pop off a few rounds, killing just a couple of stragglers, you disrupt the group, what we call a sounder. But you do not wipe them out. The ones that run away into the brush do not just forget what happened. They learn. They remember the sound of your truck engine, the scent of your gun oil, and the flash of muzzle fire. You are not thinning the herd, you are educating them. You are teaching them how to survive us. The consequences of that half-hearted approach are devastating. Those surviving hogs immediately go into survival mode. They stop moving during the day when you can see them. They become ghosts, switching their schedule entirely to the pitch black of night. They break apart into smaller, stealthier groups that are 10 times harder to track down. Worse yet, that stress triggers a biological reflex called compensatory breeding. Nature tells them they are under attack, so they start producing even larger litters to make up for the loss. Your weekend hobby just trained a smarter, meaner, more nocturnal enemy. This is not some abstract theory debated in a university classroom. This hits our wallets, and it hits them hard. We are talking about $500 million in damages every single year just right here in Texas. For those of us who have spent decades working the land, that $500 million is not just a giant number on a news screen. It has a face. It is the broken fence line you have to patch up in the freezing rain when you should be inside with your family. It is the expensive combine harvester that gets its axle snapped in half because it hit a massive, deep wallow hidden in the tall grass. It is the corn crop you spent thousands of dollars planting and fertilizing, only to watch it get flattened and devoured in a single night. When you add up those repair bills, those lost yields, and those wasted hours, you realize this invasion is stealing your peace of mind. That is money that was supposed to be tucked away for retirement. That is the savings meant to help put your grandkids through college or buy that new tractor you desperately need. Every acre they ruin is a piece of your retirement fund slipping away. We cannot fight a professional, highly adaptable threat with a casual, part-time mindset anymore. It is time to put away the weekend warrior mentality and start looking at this like the serious, strategic operation it needs to be. When the weight of this fight feels like too much to carry on your own, you have to remember that there are folks out there who have your back. There is a whole network of dedicated souls who do not just see this as a job, they see it as a calling. These are the wildlife management specialists, the trappers, and the field biologists who spend their days and nights looking out for rural Texas. To understand the heart of these people, you have to look at the stories that never make the evening news, the quiet moments of dedication that happen when the rest of the world is fast asleep. Take a look at what happened to an elderly couple living just outside of San Angelo. It was well past midnight, the kind of pitch-black Texas night where you can hear a pin drop across the pasture. The grandfather noticed something moving erratically near the old wooden swing set where his grandkids play every single weekend. He shined a flashlight out there and saw a skunk. But this was not just any skunk. It was staggering, snapping at the air, showing every terrifying sign of active rabies. Panicked and thinking about his family, he made a call to a local wildlife services technician. Now, most people would expect a government worker to say it could wait until Monday morning, or at least until the sun came up. But not this man. He did not make excuses, and he did not hesitate. He hopped straight into his truck, drove down those long dirt roads, and arrived at the property within the hour. He handled that rabid animal calmly and safely, ensuring there was zero danger left behind. Then, instead of heading home to his own warm bed, he drove that specimen directly to a state lab hours away so the family could have definitive answers before the kids woke up. That kind of devotion goes way beyond a bi-weekly paycheck. That is a man who cares about his neighbors. Have you ever had a local official or a neighbor go completely out of their way to help save your property or keep your family safe? Drop your story in the comments below because we love hearing about the good folks who keep our communities strong. Then you have the folks running the broiler chicken farms out in East Texas. If you know anything about the poultry business, you know the margins are razor thin. You are working around the clock to keep those massive houses at the perfect temperature, keeping the birds healthy and secure. But wild hogs do not care about your livelihood. They started coming onto these poultry properties, drawn by the smell of feed and the shelter. These massive beasts started digging and rooting right against the foundations of the chicken houses, tearing up the critical insulation and breaking the structural seals. Worse than the physical damage was the biological threat. Hogs carry diseases that can wipe out a commercial flock in the blink of an eye. The owners were staring down the barrel of complete financial ruin, watching their life savings evaporate as the banks threatened foreclosure. They were desperate. That is when the wildlife experts stepped in with a real plan. They did not just throw some cheap traps around. They mapped the trails, studied the movement patterns of the sounders, and executed a scientific trapping strategy. Within a matter of weeks, they cleared the threat, stabilized the perimeter, and quite literally saved those family farms from bankruptcy. These stories remind us of a fundamental truth that we sometimes forget when we are stressed out and staring at a ruined field. These wildlife professionals are not some detached outsiders coming in from big cities with clipboards and regulations. They are country folks just like us. They drive the same dirt roads, they shop at the same feed stores, and they share the exact same traditional values. They understand the deep connection we have to the land because they feel it too. You are not fighting this battle alone in the dark. You have allies who are willing to put on their boots, trudge through the mud, and stay up all night to protect your legacy. When we work hand in hand with people who possess that level of grit and expertise, the tide starts to turn. We can move away from the frustration of temporary fixes and start building a real defense system for our homes, knowing that our heritage is being guarded by men and women who respect it just as much as we do. To win a war against an enemy this smart, you have to stop out-hunting them and start outsmarting them. We have to change our entire playbook. If we want to save our land, we have to adopt a strategy called whole sounder removal. That means you do not focus on catching one or two rogue hogs. Your goal must be to capture every single member of the family group at the exact same time. If you leave even a single breeding sow behind, or a couple of young pigs that witness their family getting caught, you lose. Those survivors will carry that memory for the rest of their lives, pass that fear down to their offspring, and become completely trap-shy. You have to wipe the slate clean, and that takes a mix of modern technology and old-school patience. This is where incredible tools like the Boar Buster system come into play. Now, many of us grew up using the old traditional box traps or heavy coral gates sitting on the ground. The problem with those designs is that old smart hogs see a rigid metal frame or a narrow door, and their alarm bells start ringing. They will stand right outside the gate, eat the bait near the entrance, but they will never step inside. The Boar Buster turns that design completely upside down. It is a massive, circular corral trap that hangs completely off the ground, suspended in the air by a central winch system. When the hogs walk under it, they do not see a cage. They see wide open space. There are no doors to walk through, no strange thresholds to step over, and nothing to trigger their natural suspicion. But having the best tool in the world does not mean a thing if you do not have the discipline to use it right. Trapping wild hogs is a process, not a single event. You cannot just set up a rig, throw some corn down, and expect a miracle on night one. You have to master the art of pre-baiting. This means you set up the suspended trap, but you leave it locked open in the air. You scatter fermented corn or sweet bait underneath it day after day, sometimes for weeks. You want the old, cynical matriarch so to bring her entire crew there night after night, until they treat that specific spot like their favorite local diner. They need to believe with every bone in their bodies that this area is completely safe. While they are getting comfortable, you are playing the long game using smart surveillance. Thanks to cellular trail cameras hooked directly to your smartphone, you do not have to sit out in a cold blind all night swatting mosquitoes. You can be sitting right in your favorite living room recliner, sipping a hot cup of black coffee, watching the whole thing unfold in real time on your screen. These high-definition infrared cameras send a live video feed straight to an app. You can watch them walk in, count the numbers, and study their behavior. You learn to recognize the difference between a lone, wandering boar and a full breeding sounder packed with mothers and piglets. The app gives you ultimate control. You sit there patiently on your couch, watching the phone screen as the numbers build. You wait as 5 hogs walk in, then 10, then 15. You do not touch that trigger button if there is still one single pig lingering out in the shadows. You wait until the entire family is standing shoulder to shoulder, greedily eating the bait. Once you verify that every last one of them is accounted for under the ring, you simply tap the drop button on your smartphone screen. The command transmits instantly through the cellular network, releasing the winch mechanism. That heavy steel ring drops from the sky in just one single second. Before the lead hog can even look up or realize what happened, the trap is firmly on the ground, anchored by its own weight. There are no springs for them to avoid, no tripwires they can accidentally trigger too early, and absolutely no way out. By using your brain instead of just your trigger finger, you just removed an entire generation of pests from your property in the blink of an eye. That is how we protect our heritage. We stop rushing into the woods with a hot head, and we start managing our property with real, calculated American ingenuity. Once we start clearing these sounders off our land, we are faced with a brand new question, and it is one that speaks directly to who we are as people. What do we do with what we have taken? In the true spirit of rural Texas, we do not let things go to waste. We find a way to turn a curse into a blessing. When you handle these wild hogs the right way, following proper field dressing and safety regulations, you are looking at an incredible source of free, lean, organic protein. Across the state, beautiful community initiatives are showing us exactly how to do this. Landowners and local processors are teaming up to harvest this meat, turning it into high-quality jerky, ground pork, and smoked sausages. Instead of just leaving the problem in the pasture, they are packing up these protein-rich meals and donating them straight to local food banks, faith-based shelters, and soup kitchens. We are talking about feeding hungry children, supporting struggling families down the road, and putting a warm meal in front of a homeless veteran who fell on hard times. It is a powerful thing when a landowner can look at an animal that was destroying his livelihood and use it to sustain his community. We take a threat to our soil and we transform it into a gift that keeps our neighbors alive and well. Have you ever tried wild hog meat prepared the right way? Or maybe your local community has a similar program for donating wild game? Let me know in the comments how you like to cook it up or how your town handles it, because sharing those ideas is how we support one another. But as we look at the good we can do locally, we cannot afford to blind ourselves to the massive storm cloud gathering on the horizon. This fight goes way beyond our individual fence lines or the borders of our counties. It connects directly to the safety of our entire nation. There is a scientific nightmare out there called African Swine Fever, or ASF for short. It is a highly contagious, brutal viral disease that affects both domestic and wild pigs, and it carries a mortality rate of nearly 100%. There is no vaccine, there is no cure, and it can survive for months in the ground, in water, or on clothes. Right now, the United States is free of African swine fever. But if that virus ever finds its way into the massive, roaming pool of over 2 million wild hogs in Texas, it will spread like wildfire through a dry pine forest. From there, it is only a matter of time before it jumps the fence into our commercial domestic hog facilities. If that happens, the consequences will be absolutely catastrophic for the American economy. The United States stands as one of the single largest exporters of pork on the global stage, feeding hundreds of millions of people across the planet. The very second a single case of African swine fever is confirmed in our pig population, international borders will slam shut. Trade embargoes will be enacted instantly. Global markets will refuse American pork overnight. The commercial pork industry will experience a total and immediate collapse. And we are talking about billions of dollars vanishing into thin air. Think about the human cost of that collapse. It means thousands of hardworking American farming families, folks who have put their life savings into their livestock operations, will face total bankruptcy. Feed mills will shut down. Processing plants will lay off workers. And supply chains will shatter, dragging down small towns and rural economies all across the country. So, when you look out your back window at night and think about managing the wild hogs on your acreage, understand the true scale of what you are doing. You are not just a property owner protecting a patch of grass or a row of crops. You are a frontline defender standing on the perimeter of American agriculture. Your dedication to eradicating these invasive pests is a critical shield protecting the livelihoods of millions of your fellow citizens and securing the food supply for the entire world. It is a heavy burden, but it is exactly the kind of quiet, vital duty that American landowners have always stepped up to carry. At the end of the day, fences might mark our property, but they can never divide our shared spirit. Wild hogs do not care about property lines, and honestly, neither should our resolve. The biggest lesson this land teaches us is that we cannot carry the heavy burdens of life entirely on our own shoulders. It takes a neighborhood, a community standing shoulder to shoulder to protect what is sacred. If this story hit home for you, share your thoughts in the comments below, hit that subscribe button, and join our community. Let us keep guarding these gates together, my friends. See you all in the next videos.